Hi everyone and welcome back to Hitchin Farm. Today we'll be starting a new video series which will show you a more detailed tutorial of how we train horses for carriage driving and for draft work. Now it's the winter, we have a little more time to get on with training our own horses. We still have 4 in for training that belong to other people, but also these 4 boys and a filly of our own. Some of whom have been born and bred on the farm. They've seen a lot of the work before, but they haven't done very much. And some of whom who have come into the farm as adults, and this will all be totally new to them. There'll also be a range of ages, so you'll see them doing different types of work. The youngest of whom is only 2 years old, or approaching 2 years old, which is Hades, that you can see here as a little foal. Most of our horses are heavy horse crosses, but there is one outlier, Spud here, who is an Irish draft crossed Arab, and we're hoping to get him driving too. Spud is a little bit different to some of the others. He can be a little bit nifty with his back feet, and he's a little bit of a lovable rogue. Any horse that we're training for any discipline will go through an initial basis of connection training. The main aim initially with this is to get the horse to pay attention to you. Because a horse that's focused on other things is not going to learn in the same way as a horse that's actually in the room, as you say. It uses pressure and release to show the horse what the right behaviour is that you're going to reward. In this instance, as he moves off, pressure is applied, and as he slows down and stops and pays attention to what we're doing again, pressure is released, and he also gets a reward, which is a good scratch on the neck or a rub on the face. This is Hades' first ever session of connection work. As you can see, he does lose focus, but obviously he's a young horse, that's totally acceptable behaviour. We're just trying to teach him here to start to pay attention, again using pressure and release, and I will stop talking now so you can see it in action. Beautiful colour as well, isn't he? Because Hades is so young, he's only about 18 months old, even though he is very, very big. This will probably be all the work that he does this year until he comes back in next autumn, to give him a chance to grow up physically and also mentally. And as he is a colt, it's really important to us that he lives out as part of a bachelor herd like they would in nature. This teaches him good manners. He doesn't learn to push or shove people. He's got his friends to do that with. And he also learns that he's not God's gift to mares. He's not the most dominant stallion out there, and so he comes back in with much better manners there too. This is still his first session, and as you can see, he's just now starting to pay enough attention that he will move his feet when Mike moves his feet and follow him around. Because his fight or flight instincts have hopefully not been roused too much during this session, he should remember everything that he's learned and come back into his next session at this point, although we do go over everything several times to make sure that the horses really understand what we're looking for. So this little mare is Grace. She's actually in for training. Her owner bought her as a broken driving mare, but she had some problems with her rushing. She felt that she needed some more groundwork putting in, and she also had problems with her standing still. So here Mike has used connection work again in order to get her to focus on him rather than worrying about what's going on in the rest of the world. And again, as you can see here, the pressure and release is being used to bring her attention back to where we want it. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at lateral flexion work, which is using pressure and release to prepare a horse for long reining.
Right, so today we're going to be doing lateral flexion work with Onyx. He's one of our rising 3-year-old colts, and this is really the foundation for steering, and it'll also enhance his lead rein work, so leading around, because he's still obviously only quite a young colt. That'll help him with that as well, and it's just a pressure and release game for him. And once he's done it with the halter, he'll then move on later on to doing it on the bridle with the bit. Right, so what I'm going to do is, got the lead rein up over his back here, just behind his withers, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a slight bit of pressure on this rope here, and I'm just going to wait for him. He's got his ear on me, which is great. There. As soon as he came into the pressure, instantaneously he's going to get a release of the pressure. So I'm going to drop that, and he'll get a little bit of a rub, so he recognises that that is the answer and that is what we're looking for. And it's almost better when you start this, less pressure is more. If you put a lot of pressure on there, you find sometimes they just brace against it. So we'll just do it again and again. You just keep repeating it and putting a little bit more and a little bit more, until really what I'm looking for is you can get a nice smooth movement, so he comes up and touches his own body. Right, so we'll wait for him to go straight again, and then I'll put a bit of pressure on him. His focus has gone over there. Ah, there we go. Come back. Ah, lovely. And this is the second time he's done this. He did a little bit yesterday for about 10 minutes. But this is a major thing with keeping horses below threshold and relaxed in their work. They seem to absorb everything, and they almost come back the next day better than when he finished. Whereas in the past, if they're a little bit stressed or uptight, they come back and they're not quite as good as they should be, really. Right. Move him over here. Can you see a bit better?
Yeah, that would be great.
And what I find is, by having this hand here, I can brace myself against the horse, so if he does decide to turn on the spot or spin or move, I can stay the right sort of distance away from that horse, and also try and maintain the same pressure, because I don't want to increase the pressure when he starts moving. I want to just maintain exactly the same pressure, so that when he comes to a stop and actually flexes his head like we want, he realises that that's the answer that I'm looking for, not the movement of the feet. I'll wait for him to get ready. There we go. Lovely. You can see he's nice and relaxed. There we go. So that's basically the wrong answer, but again, I'm just going to maintain that pressure, and you can see if I have my hand here, it's helping me have the right pressure on his head. There we go.
So you were saying earlier that the timing is really important with this.
Yeah, so timing is incredibly important. If you're slightly out one way or the other, they don't get it, because basically they don't understand why you've released the pressure, and they can't figure out what your trigger is or your motive is for releasing the pressure. Whereas if it's really obvious, like, oh, he's flexed his head, let him go straight away, give him a rub, there's an inkling that that is what you want, that what we are looking for. And that time, without moving his feet, he's flexed right round, and he's about 6-7 inches off touching his body, so that's pretty nice. Quite a nice start for a youngster. And really, what you do on one side, you have to do on the other. So we'll come round this side, and do the same again. We'll flip rein over.
And you're keeping your hand quite far back on the lead rope as well?
Yeah, I'm keeping my hand back here. we never do anything up here, it's always back down here. And what you find is, if I'm up here, when I bring that horse's head round, my body's blocking it.
Yeah.
So what I want a load of space there. So when he does come round, that I'm not going to block him with my body language. So, and then I was a bit slow to release them, but you can see it. And the clutch control between each of these horses will be slightly different. So it does take a little while to get the feel for it. There you go, I'm moving the feet. There you go. And hopefully you can see, as soon as he flexed his head, I released that rope, and that's all we're looking for. And then what you find is they're going to start looking for the answer. That's why the connection and the focus work is so important, so that they know that there's an answer to look for. And then when they start using their brain, it relaxes them, and everything should be about keeping them chill. Because obviously, especially for a work horse, the most important thing is that they stand still, and stressed horses can't stand still. Okay. Just ignore this bit. So it's absolutely fine if he moves his feet, because what that is, it's not necessarily a wrong answer. He's looking for the right answer. Like that is bracing, so he's wondering if that is possibly a way out. And even though he's pulled his head right back round, which is quite common, as soon as he releases that pressure, that's fine. Even though really we wanted him to come up here, the fact that he's come back and got off that pressure is really important, and that's the answer. So even though it wasn't exactly how we wanted it, it was still the right answer, if that makes sense. There you go. And you've got to be really quick with that sometimes, because you can see he just nudged his nose and released the pressure, and that's what we were looking for. And let him have a little bit of a think and a bit of a moment. Bit of processing time.
So you're maintaining the pressure there until it gives you the right answer.
Yeah.
And the right answer is to turn his head.
Yeah, just to flex. It's to release the pressure of the rope, and to do that he has to flex his neck and bring his head round.
So he thinks of that.
Yeah.
So even though Grace has driven before, she will also be doing this part of her training, so we can make sure that she has a firm understanding of what we want when we're applying pressure. So as you can see there, as soon as she answered the question correctly, the pressure was released. And as you can see, the pressure is released even at the smallest movement, as long as it's in the correct direction, so that your horse clearly understands that they're doing the right thing. That's it for today, unfortunately, but our next video will be showing you desensitisation and the horse's first time in harness. So don't forget to hit subscribe so you see that come up on your feed.